I was born in Bombay in India, which is now called Mumbai. But my father lived in Simla, which is called something else now, and he was a rickshaw builder, because in Simla no cars were allowed except the viceroy, and everybody either walked or went in a rickshaw, and these were very substantial rickshaws, not the sort you see in Shanghai or places like that. They had 4 men, 2 behind and 2 in front, and they had motor tires, you know, those sort of tires. And so the older ones had wooden tires, but so.
But was he working sort of primarily for the British colonial service?
Oh no, he was private, what we now call private enterprise. This was his own business. And it was in a very interesting place in Simla, because it's very hilly. And just below it, there was a huge flat space, which in the summer were tennis courts, and in the winter was a skating rink.
Amazing.
Huge.
And these rickshaws, just describe them again, because we normally think of them as being something that's sort of pulled along, but it was pulled and pushed.
Pulled and pushed, yes, because the hills were very, very steep. So they had 2 men in front. It has a sort of a stroke and a bar, and then 2 men pulling and 2 men behind on another bar behind the rickshaw pushing.
And what was your life like? Where did you go to school?
Well, when we came to England, I don't know, I can't remember where I went to school, but my mother and her mother and my aunt, they all went over to France. So I went to school in France to begin with.
Wow.
And near Sèvres, I don't know where you know where that is, somewhere there. And then my mother wanted to move on somewhere else, so she put myself, and I had 2 sisters then, we were all put in a convent in Belgium, in a tiny town called Philippeville. And we were parked there for about 10 years.
What was that like? What sort of education did you get there?
Well, no, because being nuns, and my daughter's always complaining about, we didn't get much in the way of sport and things like that, but we got all kinds of artistic things like painting and sewing and embroidery and anything to do with the arts and the piano and so on. But no sport.
I suppose that was the way they educated girls, really, in those days.
Yes.
Yeah. And then after that, you went back to India?
Well, then I left school, and Mummy came back, and we lived in a place called Charleroi in Belgium for a while, in great poverty, I remember. And then my aunt, who was also married from somebody from India, he was a Greek who worked for Raleigh Brothers, I don't know whether you heard of them. He retired, and they settled in Greece, so we all packed up and we went to Greece and lived there for a couple of years, and it was one of the loveliest years of my life, I think, because I was, 17, 18 or something. I'd finished school, I hadn't started work, and I did nothing but swim and play for about a year. And then this uncle died, so my aunt and her mother came to England, and Mummy and us children went back home to India.
So you're about 18 now?
Yes.
And what did you do then?
And I was walking along in Simla one day, just after we'd arrived, and somebody stopped me and said, "You must be Jack Blessington's daughter." So I said, "Well, how do you know?" He said, "You're the spitting image. That's why I'm not beautiful, you see." But, well, then I spent some time there. I had a half-brother who was in charge of the fire brigade in Delhi. So I went and stayed with him from there. And it was so exciting because he'd get a call to go off to a fire. and I'd bicycle after it.
Wow. And how did they put out fires in Delhi in that time?
Well, they didn't have horses like we have down here. I think it must have been a fire engine like the one we've got, because they did have hydrants and things like that to pick up the... Yeah. Because Delhi by then was quite a civilized place, because it was the centre of government, wasn't it, at the time?
Yes, yes. But the government, I guess, was there during the summer.
No, the winter we spent in Delhi.
Oh, I beg your pardon, yes.
And then in the summer, the whole government and all sorts of people attached went up to Simla for 6 months. So it's 6 months there and 6 months down.
Yeah. And were you there when you met your husband?
Yes, he was a friend of my brother's.
Okay.
He didn't want me to marry him, but, you know, you never do what your relatives tell you to do. Yeah.
And so how old were you when you were married?
24, 5, something like that, yeah.
Right.